So yeah, just like you said, Nate, Detroit has a special place in my heart, I would say, because that was my first ever win in the series back in 2018. Very unique track, challenging, demanding, but super fun to drive. I would say it's one of my favorite street courses in the calendar, and we definitely missed that in the final year. So I'm very much looking forward to get back there in Detroit. Again, home of Cadillac and GM, so it makes it even more special of a place. And continue the run from Mid-Ohio was pretty good to get a second place there. So keeping the momentum, bringing that over to Detroit. And I think it's a track that really plays well into the Cadillac hands in terms of, if you look at the past results and things, we always been up there and fighting for the win. So yeah, I'm really looking forward and can't wait to get back on track and fight for the victory in Detroit.
Thanks, Felipe. One more before we shift over to Tristan from me. I understand you've had some various seat time in various simulators here over the last little bit. Last week, an air simulator, and then I think
yes.
you're in the Dallara simulator testing the car. So talk about those simulator experiences, how similar they are, how different they are, and what's going on with that.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. So yeah, it was pretty fun. Last Friday, I got invited to go and visit the structure of Azul Airlines, which is one of the biggest Brazilian airlines out there, and they gave me a full tour around. And of course, I wanted to fly a plane, and they only gave me a simulator, which I wasn't, happy about it. But let's say it was fun. It was kind of fun, something different. I did quite well, actually. Didn't crash the plane, made the landing just fine, the takeoff, and here today I'm driving the Dallara simulator as part of our preparation with the whole Action Express crew, engineers, and people is here too. So two extremely different, how can I say, inputs, but I will stick to the driving, that's for sure.
Thanks, Felipe. Let's go ahead and put Tristan into the spotlight for an opener from him, and we will, and then we'll open up for questions again. If anybody has questions, use the raise hand function. Let me know in the chat, and I'll get to. I see there's already a hand up, so we'll get to that here shortly. But first, let's welcome in Tristan Vautier, driver of the number 5 Mustang Sampling Cadillac DPI VR, co-driving with Loic Duval. They come into this weekend's race 3rd in the DPI point standings. Of course, had a big win in September at the Mobile One 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Advanced Auto Parts. So, Tristan, thanks for joining us. Just talk about, you're the furthest up in the point standings currently for the Cadillac, among the Cadillac teams, heading into a home race for Cadillac. What do you guys need to do this weekend?
It's gonna be tight as always. I think we need to unload really strong. There's not gonna be. I mean, we have a bit of practice time, but the weekend's gonna go by really quick. I think execution in the race is gonna be very important, because those sprint races on the street courses, you cannot. You have zero room for mistake, zero room for recovery. So it's going to be important to qualify really well and stay at the front and have very good pit stops. So that's the focus. As you mentioned, it's a big race for all of us in the Cadillac and the GM family. We, as a Cadillac driver, you especially want to do well in Detroit. For me, it's a track I really enjoyed. I got lucky to drive it in IndyCar as well, and it's the track on which I got my best ever result in IndyCar. So I really enjoyed this place, and it's special to me on top of being a Cadillac driver. So I also really want to do well there. as Rengor said, it's a privilege to drive these cars on a street course. There's no real other series that take the prototypes on the street course. I got lucky enough to drive the Indy cars. The DPIs are amazing as well, because you have almost the same cornering speeds, but they're even more challenging to drive because you go almost as quick as an Indy car, but the cars are heavier, so they're even less forgiving in between the two concrete walls, because, you know, with the extra weight, if you do a mistake, you really have no to recover. So I really look forward to it. We've had good momentum in the last races, obviously, especially with the win in Sebring. Mid Ohio, we were right there. I think we were missing a little bit to the 31 and the 10 to fight for the win. Maybe third place was possible if we had done everything perfect, but we are improving every year. We're getting closer to being in contention for the win every weekend. So we're working hard. We're making good steps, and yeah, it's gonna be a cool weekend, and I hope we do well for Cadillac.
Thank you, Tristan. So let's go ahead and open it up to questions. Holly Kane, you had your hand up first. Who can we put in the spotlight for you?
Well, it could be any of the three, actually. My question is kind of playing off what you said about momentum. You guys have 4 races coming up in the next 6 weeks. Could you just talk a bit about how important it is to start doing well? How much does that, you know, winning one of these really pay off during this stretch of a lot of racing here after, you know, the first 2 races having time off between them? So just if you could talk about the momentum here of having 4 races in 6 weeks.
Rengor, why don't you start, then we'll go to Felipe and Tristan.
You know, it's the time we've been waiting for all the time now. It's been a very relaxed, I would say, first half of the season with big breaks in between the races. So finally, we're gonna get going to a proper racing activity with week in, week out, which I like. I really like the 2 days event. So practice and qualifying, race day. I think we should make these events, except the long ones, all of them 2 days. Yeah, I'm in this world to go racing. So let's go racing.
Felipe.
Well, I think it's a cool period for us drivers and obviously the fans and everybody else involved into racing, because you know, as Rengor mentioned, sometimes I just feel like it's too much downtime. I wish we had 2 more extra races in the calendar, and especially when you look at the model of a sprint race weekend. You know, everything happens so quickly. You got to make decisions quickly towards the car setup, track time, you know, making the most of every time opportunity you have it on track. So I think starting at Detroit, I think put us drivers and teams into that, how do I say, that racing mode where you have to extract everything pretty quick and make decisions real quick. And we have some pretty cool venues coming up as well. I mean, Watkins, it's, you know, needless to say, it's an awesome track as well to take the DPI's cars around. And having the long race, 6-hour race, and the sprint race is going to be 2 different dynamics. And as a driver, you got to look after yourself as a routine. You know how prepared you are to take over these weekends, reset and go again, because as I said, everything counts. Whatever you're doing, if it's on track or off track, it has an impact on every race from now on.
And Tristan.
Yeah, I think it's good to finally get a rhythm. We don't like the big breaks in between races. Only after winning Sebring, it was good because you got a couple of weeks to brag about the win. But I think as drivers, we're not the kind of people to look back anyways. We always look forward to the next race. So it's going to be cool to actually finish a race and, you know, be already able to look forward to the next one coming up pretty soon. So it's mainly exciting. as Felipe said, it's those shorter weekends are more intense because there is less time for recovery of any kind, or you cannot get off track. So everything that happens really matters. I thought that was well said, and it's good. I think we like that as drivers. The most intense it is, the more we like it. And especially those sprint races on the street courses, the way the weekends play out, it's really cool. You get in and out really quick, and you gotta be on it very quickly and do everything right to get the win. So looking forward to that, and happy that now we have a good stretch where we actually get into a proper racing rhythm.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Holly. And again, anybody with questions, let me know in the chat or use the raise hand function, and I'll get it to you. Mark Robinson, why don't you go ahead?
A couple questions, and maybe two guys can answer each. We'll start maybe with Tristan. Talking about the prevailing thought always going to Sebring is that the Cadillac seem to have a little bit of an advantage because of the bumpiness of the track. Does that carry over to Detroit as well?
Looking at history, the Cadillacs had good results. So we are hopeful and confident that we're going to be good there, but the series is so tight that it takes such little details for one car or the other to take advantage that it's really hard to predict. It can flip over very quickly. So looking at data, you could say so, but I think the way the balance of performance from IMSA has been, and the fact that every team has been getting more and more competitive every year and closer to each other, makes it to where it's kind of like every weekend, it's up for grabs and you start from zero. So it's really hard to have a kind of forecast for that. Yeah.
Maybe Felipe, I could answer the same question. Do you feel like you guys have any sort of advantage at Detroit?
Well, I would say, every track that you look around the calendar plays in favor, depending of the track layout. But I would say the Cadillacs are more biased towards, some of the mechanical grip that, requires in tracks like Long Beach, Detroit. That's why I really miss them, because it's the place that we always have to make the most out of it. And there's no doubt it's a place. The team has a great history. Action Express has a great history. It was my first win at Detroit. So I have such a unique feeling at that place. I love driving street, at street tracks. And but again, all that I'm saying, we turn up there and I'm sure the competition is going to be super tight. So far this year, it has been every race like down to the wire and different cars fighting to the victory. So I'm expecting the same as the weekend goes on. And again, a sprint race at Detroit is very different to sprint races in different tracks, because you just don't have the time to recover. So any decisions you make on track, you have to make them stick and count. So again, I really hope that plays into our hands, and I feel as a team we're ready to put that 31 in contention again.
And for the second question, Felipe, let's talk about the fans a little bit. Remember, they're going to be back almost in full force at Detroit. They're going to be back in the paddock this weekend. What does that add to the event? What does that mean to you guys to have them back there and be within close proximity and cheering you on? Well,
that's awesome. And, when I heard it, I was super happy to hear the fans were going to be back there. And I don't know, it's just spice up things better. It looks more of a race weekend, right? You can get the fans close, you can hear them, you can see their excitement. And especially at street courses, street races, you have that kind of that relationship with people because they are circling around. So I'm very happy, well done to IMSA and everybody for really making this happen. And I can't wait to see them on track and give them a good show.
And Ranger, your thoughts on the same question?
I mean, everything's said by Felipe, but the the fans getting the closest in Detroit, like a street track, and we might get a little scared there because I think it's gonna be packed with a lot of people very excited not being at the racetrack for over a year now. So it's gonna be cool to meet them again, and they we have to ask them to take it easy on us because we're not used to them anymore. But now really cool to have them around again, and you know, that's what we do the sport for. Together with the fans, we make it a show. So happy they are back at it, and happy it's in Detroit.
Great, thank you guys.
Thanks, Mark. Looks like Calvin had a couple for Ringer, so we'll have him go ahead. Go ahead, Cal.
Hey, Ringer, I think I'm correct in saying that Chip hasn't run with sports cars at Detroit. With this weekend and in general, really, how much engineering transfer is there between the sports car and the IndyCar team? How inclusive are the IndyCar guys in setup information and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Did they go to Detroit with the Fords 3 years ago?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think the last time they would have run there would have been 2015 with the Ford DP cars.
Okay.
The GPLS
okay.
had Le Mans, so they were not going to Detroit because of the Le Mans test.
Oh, exactly. So to be honest, I think they have a lot of experience with this track from the past, and also from IndyCar. At the end of the day, we have to figure it out ourselves. You know, when we go here, we're gonna do a track walk, see what the track is like, what has changed on the tarmac. You know, maybe the guardrails are always a little different. They build up the track every year again. So you know, coming with a tire that is completely different than the Continental in the past with the Ford DP car that they had, or an Indy car. So for sure there's some information around, but at the end of the day we have to figure it out ourselves to make the car fast. It's a different car, different track, different tires. So for sure they might have some directions, but I think I've not heard any crossover yet between the Indy car and our car.
Yes, so Joey Hand and Scott Pruitt finished fourth in 2015 in the prototype class and overall the last time they ran. So back to you for more, Calvin.
Yeah, so not like Verstappen, you actually do track walks.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I try to avoid them. You're right. But no, I think it's I'm there already tomorrow, so I have plenty of time to go around and go for a bike ride. And I don't think it's allowed on the track, but maybe on Wednesday it is. I don't know. But for sure for Kevin, it's going to be important to do track work because the first time he's there, he's new at every track this year. So I think this is the first year I'll do every track work of the calendar. Yeah.
You guys are so strong at Sebring. We talk about bumps. Similar setup. I mean, you've obviously run with other teams at both events. Is it something that transfers over, do you feel?
Yeah. Sebring is very particular because of all the high-speed corners as well. You know, like turn one, you're setting up the car there, and in combination with the bumps. And I think this requires a little bit different setup. At the same time, the Cadillac has always been good over the bumps, and you see Sebring, also Detroit, the car has always been pretty good. Competitive at least. So for sure that it gives some feeling, and it gives some confidence that we were so strong in Sebring to come to Detroit now.
Cool. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
See you there.
Thanks, Calvin. Stephen Cole Smith, who can we put in the spotlight for you?
Any of the guys that want to answer this one. It's about going to the home track of the manufacturer. Is it the same as any other track, or do you feel extra pressure going to a home track like Cadillac's track? Do they give you a special pep talk? Do they have a lot more events for you guys to go to, or is it just another race?
Felipe, why don't you start that one?
Well, I have to say it makes it even more special. And as a driver, if there is an extra pressure, you just use that pressure in your favor in a way that, you know, I mean, from the first moment I've drove Detroit back in 18, I just I just love that track, you know, the whole flow of the track and the whole connection between the manufacturer. So it is a pretty unique place, and winning there, I tell you, it feels way better in front of your home manufacturer and celebrating with all of them. And it's something I want to do it again. One thing I was disappointed was that they called that fountain the Scott Fountain, which I recall that because I think I did it first, you know, that jump in the fountain after winning the race. But anyway, that was a good moment. I really like to repeat if I can, as a team, and you know, having people there. People had previously put their car on pole as well, so we both have good experience at the track, and will be even more special if we can get the win over there.
Anything to add, either Tristan or Renger, on that?
Similar for me answer as Felipe. It's extra pressure, but it's positive pressure, you know, and that's where, as a driver, you know, you have to be strong to use that pressure and convert it into like positive energy to drive you forward. And yeah, it's crazy. Hardly Detroit is associated with Cadillac, right? And the GM family. So you always have it hanging over you, but in a good way. So I haven't won there like Felipe yet, and it's really a feeling I know I want to experience as a driver to win for Cadillac in Detroit. So we are head down for that goal.
Yeah, you see the tower when you're driving, so you know they're watching. So you better do well there, yeah, for sure.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Got one more for Felipe from Calvin, and then
Go ahead.
So go ahead, Calvin.
Yeah, just
Hey, Calvin.
how physically demanding is this track, Felipe? And I'm thinking about it in terms of strategy. If you were to get a yellow after that first 15 minutes where the pits would be open, there's potential for a long stint for the second driver. Is 80 minutes an issue around there potentially, or is it not a big deal?
No, well, it's pretty intense. I would say Detroit requires more, you know, concentration on the wheel, because, you know, if I could describe, you know, you're driving between concretes, and, you know, you have bumps, you have curbs, you have hard braking, you have traffic, and putting that all condensed into a sprint race makes it a lot harder for the driver. And that strategy call is key, depending where you're going to come out on traffic and making the most of a clean track, for example. And but also, like, one thing that I love in this series is that you go out on a cold set of Michelin tires, and you have to figure out even how to hold back the you know, whatever car is behind you. You got to keep your position. And even so, there is track time there. There is track position in that game. So Detroit always comes down to that one stop. You know, depending on a yellow or early yellow or not, that race could become a one stop, or I don't know. It depends. But we gotta be prepared as a team to fight whatever scenario we might get. You know. So, but it is super intense physically as well, up on the wheel. But I just love it as a driver, and I'm so glad we're getting back there.
Talk about traffic briefly. How much attention do you pay to the GTD runners, for example, which is the majority of the traffic that you'll encounter there, in terms of identifying who's behind the wheel? Everyone has a different, you know, protocol and how willing they are to let the faster cars by. Do you want the information from the team? Is it just something you read on the fly in terms of the language of the car in front of you?
We normally have the team watching those cars around. They normally have a good knowledge how good they are on track. So they will tell you, you know, next car coming by, he would say whatever, just, you know, be extra cautious, or just say, you know, you're going to get him cleared next time by. And some guys make your life much easier, you know. I have to say it's really spread out, and but at Detroit makes it even harder, man, because you don't want to. When you're driving, first of all, you're trying maximum to stay on track, not touch any walls, not make any mistakes. Plus, you have if you have a quicker car behind you, it builds up that pressure, you know, and it's hard for you to find that right spot to make the correct pass at the correct time. So again, all the ingredients for a good show in Detroit. That's why this place is so special.
And just one final quick follow-up, sorry to extend the conversation here, but the pass at Detroit from Ricky for the lead for you, just talk us through your mindset at that moment. I know you guys were trying to rebound, get the win. A win is the most points you can grab, but how much were you thinking, a big picture at that moment in terms of not risking and having another bad race?
Mid-Ohio, saying.
Yes, Mid-Ohio.
So the picture I got was when I restarted the race, they said, if you don't save fuel now, you're not going to finish the race. So I had an extreme message saying, whatever you're doing, you got to make it to the end. So looking back, of course, I didn't have my tires in the temperature I wanted. I couldn't get my brakes in the temperature I wanted just because it was a big number we had to hit. So in one way, as a driver, you're like, man, I want to keep my position. I'm giving everything on track to keep my position there. But I could just see that the Acras, they had a little more in terms of the fuel margin they had in the car. So they could use that a little in their favor. But on the other hand, I was super happy we could pull off as a team. I think we were probably the only team that did, fight for the victory until the very last minute without having to make an extra stop. And plus we had the pace to go there and just fight the 10 car until the end. So happy and sad at the same time. On traffic, I was giving everything I had because that was the only place I could kind of, close the gap to Ricky then. But I don't think they were an extreme fuel saving as we were. I mean, you have two other Cadillac guys here. You can ask them the same question, and I'm pretty sure they were like on the edge of not making it.
And is it with the coasting at the end of the straightaways, you're not using the brakes as hard and consequently don't get as much front tire temp, for example?
Yeah, this is all it's all connected, right? So the more you save, the more you're gonna cool down your brakes and tires. And all I had to do was it's like playing puzzle. Like you have to make your right decisions. Okay, I'm gonna get traffic here, boom, then you close the gap. And then that might, sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield, and that goes around. But in the end, it was really good points for the championship for the 31 car. We had we had two bad races, Daytona and Sebring, so it was good to be up there again. But it was one of the hardest races I ever did in terms of fuel saving, and still we were able to fight for the win.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Kellen, I'm going to go ahead and add Tristan to the spotlight with Felipe, as Felipe has one question that we did not answer yet, which was to Tristan. How many beers did you drink after winning Sebring?
Actually, that's a funny question because
4 packs, 5 packs?
No, well, we were trying. And then Loic, so Seb told Loic and I, we were packing, and Seb says, okay, come to my Harvey, we're having a party, right? So we pack our bags, we put them in the rental car, and we drive the rental car with Loic to Seb's RV. And we enter his RV and his family was there, right? And in the living room of the RV, we see all the shoes like perfectly lined up, everything. And we see there's nobody in the RV, and we see the door.
Not the party we're expecting, huh?
Well, yeah, we see the door of the bedroom closed, and we're like, oh God, we're not gonna wake him up. So we took too long, he went to bed. And
Oh
so
man, that's terrible.
then the following day I see a Christian and a few other people of the team, and it was not awkward, but it was kind of like a bit weird. And then I realized that the same day talking to Seb, and Seb calls me the same day, or I don't know, we talk, and he's like, where were you last night? I'm like, come on, where were you? You were sleeping. And actually they were having the party in another
Well,
RV.
we're gonna help you on that strategy next time. Well, if that happens, right? But I'll provide the beers. I'll be happy to provide some
the
beer.
party was in another RV, and we saw they had all gone to bed, and they were not funny. But I recovered a few nights later in St. Petersburg, because both Seb and I, we live here, and we had a good dinner. So it was champagne, it was not beers, but we made up for it.
Yeah. Well, you gotta celebrate, man. Those, it's so hard to pull out a win. Everybody knows, and you just gotta.
Yeah, thank you, man. Especially after a day like this, it's a nice surprise at the end.
Oh yeah.
So
that's a good one to win for sure.
Thanks, man. Thank you. All right.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for taking the time to join us. Certainly, best of luck to Felipe and Tristan and Renger as you go to Detroit this weekend. And we will see everybody there in just a couple of days. Thanks again, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys. Safe travels.
Thanks. You too.